So I got a lot of comments on my video asking for yarn tips as a beginner crocheter. So I wanted to make a video to summarize the most notable ones that I saw. I just want to preface this by saying that I have summarized this whole video into a little PDF document if you want to just download it and read it on your own. I've also uploaded a document that summarizes all the different types of weights and yarns that you can choose from. It's definitely a good guide for beginners. And all those documents are free. It's just to help you get started on your crochet journey and learn a little bit more. The comment I saw the most was to buy as you go instead of buying in bulk. I think it's really tempting to buy in bulk, but you end up not really using a lot of the yarn that you buy if you don't have a specific project in mind. If you're new, you also don't know what you like, so you might buy a bunch of stuff in one color and then figure out a couple days or weeks later that you don't even like the yarn anymore, and then it just goes to waste. Second is, as a beginner, try and avoid crocheting with really dark colors, or avoid crocheting with something that's really fuzzy or has a lot of loose threads. And this is because it's really hard to see the stitches in these types of yarns, so it's hard to learn with. Another one that I thought was cool was that at markets, people are willing to pay more for a larger product. So the same pattern can make a larger product if you're using a bulkier yarn. Another recommendation is you can splurge in certain scenarios. So a good scenario that you would splurge on is if you're making an item that's wearable. It's a lot nicer for your skin and it's healthier to wear a natural fiber, but those natural fibers are typically more expensive. Or you can splurge if you have a niche already set out and you know what you're making, or you are really experienced so you know that the yarn's not going to go to waste. Another handy thing to know, especially for larger projects, is that dye lots are something you have to take into consideration. A dye lot is basically when a company makes a specific color of yarn, they'll dye it in a large batch, and you could be buying the same color of yarn, but if it's made in a different dye lot, it might not look exactly the same. So if you make a pink blanket from pink yarn from two different dye lots, it might look a little warped because they're not the same colors of pink. So to avoid that, if you're having a large project in mind, you should buy a little bit more yarn than you expect to use, just to avoid the possibility of you having yarn from two different dye lots. And the brand that I saw mentioned the most in the comments was the brand Loops and Threads. People seemed to like this because it was, one, affordable, two, it was easy to find in person at stores, and then three, it looked like it had a lot of colors to choose from. And the number one place in person that was recommended to me to purchase yarn from was Michael's. They just seem to have the biggest selection and the most consistent stock. People recommended Walmart. It wasn't as large of a selection, but cheaper, obviously. And then people also recommend local yarn shops. It's more expensive, but the staff are typically more knowledgeable, so they can help you, especially if you don't know much about yarn. And then people said thrift shops. So thrift shops, it's cheap, and it's really, people said that it's not reliable, but you can find a lot of hidden gems there. And then a good place online to purchase yarn is Hobby. And then you can also look on Amazon, but I think it's a little bit more inconsistent in the brands and then the quality on Amazon. And the last thing is to really familiarize yourself with the different types of yarns and different types of weights of yarns that are out there and how they might affect the finished product. That's also really handy for if you are wanting to start kind of experimenting and creating your own designs. It really helps to know about all of the different types of weights especially. Let me know if you think I've forgotten anything, because I know that there's endless things to talk about when it comes to yarn. What?